Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. What happened last night in Virginia and maybe in New Jersey? I mean, what happened in New Jersey, really, regardless of whether Chitterelli ends up on top or not, but I think he's got a decent shot. Can that happen in Illinois? Can the same suburban revolt that brought Glenn Youngkin victory in Virginia happen in Illinois and bring defeat to Governor Spalding and perhaps at least change the balance of power in the General Assembly, if not offer a pathway for Republican control, given their superminority status in both chambers? Do you see that as possible? Are you hopeful for that after last night's election? 312 elections, plural. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I'm positive. I mean, I haven't felt this alive, this hopeful in about a year and a half. And for, us moms who've had to homeschool kids for the past year and a half, I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think that, again, if you want your freedoms back, not only for you, but freedoms for your children, because the government has had more control over our children than parents have when it comes to masking and possible, lockdowns. Because if a big variant comes, like some epsilon or who knows what, they might shut us down again. If you live in a Democratic state, the chances are really good that that's going to happen. And I really think personally that this was a wake-up call to Governor Pritzker and his group that he is vulnerable next year. Mm-hmm. And I could be just hopeful, You know me, we can make a bet on it because I love to give you my money.
Yeah. I know what you want to happen.
I know.
And why you want it to happen, but that's not the same thing as saying, is it possible it could happen? So why do you think it's possible it could happen?
Because if Murphy goes down in New Jersey, then it is possible. Because that is, I know that Chris Christie was their governor, Republican, but they've gone back and forth. And I guess a Democrat hasn't won back-to-back elections there in decades. But I think that that's a positive sign that, hey, look, it can happen. Don't just assume, parents, that since we live in a Democratic state that it's over. Fight. Now's the time to fight back. And if you're going to fight for anything, it should be for your children. Because your kids are going to be masked at school and we're going to be masked in Illinois for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I think the Fairfax and Loudoun County parents made it pretty clear that it was mainly about what was happening inside the classroom, whether by Zoom or in person, and much less about mask policy. So, okay, I know what happened in Virginia and New Jersey, but what is it that's happening in Illinois that leads you to believe that something like what happened in those states could happen here next year?
Okay, so I've been going to Pritzker's press conferences for 20 plus months now. People, I've never seen protesters. They were actually protesters there the other day. And I know you poo-pooed it, like, yeah, yawn. But for me, I was shocked, like, oh, now somebody's fighting back because of the vaccine mandates, that they want to have the freedom to choose what goes in their bodies, especially if they have natural immunity that's being ignored. Those are concerns. Today, there's going to be a huge rally outside the Thompson Center at 11:30, 100 West Randolph. It's sponsored by the Children's Health Defense Illinois chapter, and they want stand up, show up, stop the mandates, stop the tyranny. So I think that they're I'm just being positive and being hopeful that finally people in Illinois are starting to wake up and they see what happened in Virginia and what could be happening in New Jersey. That will motivate them even more.
Let me ask it another way. So we had two candidates. You heard them last hour. We played bites from both of them last night, both Youngkin and Chitterelli, essentially offer their value proposition as candidates for governor. And now Youngkin, obviously victorious, Chitterelli pending. Critical thinking skills, not CRT in the classroom. And sort of the first principle there, parents are due respect, not Patriot Act surveillance. And just think about that for a second. The reaction to the National Association of School Board letter, the Merrick Garland testimony, the rapes in Loudoun County, in the Loudoun County school system. All that stuff may or may not be as top of mind a year from now when Illinoisans go to the polls. So that's one. Two is tax relief, specific taxes. New Jersey, Chitterelli focused on property taxes, as he should. New Jersey rivals Illinois for the highest property tax in the nation. In Virginia, it was specific grocery taxes and
Gas
and
tax.
a gas tax for and increasing the standard deduction, really targeting middle income families for Youngkin. And the last piece was support for state and local government, not just rhetorical support, but we're going to make sure state and local government gets the funding they need to have the manpower they need to provide the protection we desire. Okay, so those are the three prongs, the three legs of the stool in Virginia and New Jersey for those Republican candidates. Is there a Republican candidate in Illinois for governor? Is there a Republican state legislator who is making out this argument, around here? Have you heard from them? I mean, maybe with the exception of Darren Bailey, but anybody else?
312. Yeah, no. 312-642-5600. Yeah, no, that's your.
My point is to say, right, is what's possible. I mean, anything's possible under the sun, but are we seeing a move in the direction, particularly in the suburbs where the state swings, Illinois, much like Virginia? Are we seeing a move there? Are we seeing any rhetorical leadership that would suggest the foundation is being laid to build something in 2022 that could produce the same results as you saw last night in Virginia and New Jersey? Are we seeing that? Maybe I'm missing it. I'm in my ivory tower and I'm missing all the good work that all these Republican legislators and candidates for governor and party people are doing. Maybe that's true. Tell me if I'm wrong. Well, I mean, I really haven't taken a position. I've asked a question, but it's sort of a leading question. You know what I'm essentially suggesting. Tell me I'm wrong. Bob in Edison Park.
Yeah, Dan, you know what? I will say I agree to you to some extent the point you were just making, but I'll say this. People are more, they're fickle. And if they see a victory like this, I think it will inspire them more to get involved. And I'll give you credit on one thing because you've been saying it longer than anybody else, and I'm not a sugarcoater when I call up and try to kiss up to you guys. But pointing to Virginia, you've been saying for the longest time, get involved in your local school boards, your local elections. And I really think in Virginia, especially more than New Jersey, that's what swung it. People really getting involved, putting their opinion out there, getting loud with these politicians, and I think it made a difference. But as far as Illinois goes, I think it can be won because I think more than the policy issues, people want to know they can win. And I think the problem in Illinois is apathy because people are so convinced they can't win that they're not going to get involved in their local school boards and stuff like that. And I do think that this was a victory. Dan, quit being such a pessimist, buddy. Come on.
Your life coach is on the line, Dan.
I mean, I'm not an optimist or a pessimist. I'm a realist. I'm the guy who says the glass is twice as big as it needs to be. But so I'm very optimistic and very happy with what's happened yesterday, including in Minnesota. Including in a special election in a state house seat in Texas, where a Republican won a district that I think Biden won by 15 points. And I'm very optimistic about what's going to happen in the midterms next year. I think you're trending right now for something perhaps bigger than the reckoning that Obama received in 2010 after Obamacare. I think it's going to be large because I don't see any capacity for pivoting by these Democrat socialists. And by the way, I think there's a lot of Democrat socialists in swing districts, or maybe they didn't think were swing districts, but maybe they're becoming swing districts under this president with this party, that are probably wondering if maybe going all in with this tax and socialist tax and spendathon is not the right play for me. Maybe Manchin and Sinema are more where we need to be than is Biden.
Yeah, and Biden yesterday, real quickly, I just want to play this for all of you because he said things are going really well. Forget, inflation on consumer goods and all that. His family's fine, Dan.
I as I said, this year we're working on a supply chain issue. But last Thanksgiving, I sat down with my wife, my daughter, and my son-in-law. This Thanksgiving, we're all in a very different circumstance. Things are a hell of a lot better.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
The wages have gone up higher, faster than inflation.
And he is so out of touch. He has no idea what he's doing. I don't even know if he knows where he is half of the time, if he's even awake. And that kind of comment is just a slap in the face for the hard-paying taxpayers of this country who are really struggling right now. If you're on if you're on a fixed budget right now, it's scary at the grocery store and it's scary at the gas pump.
I understand, and so maybe, I mean, probably Biden had some drag, but Terry McAuliffe's attitude toward parents really, I think, was the kill shot for Glenn Youngkin. So I think he was positioned right, Glenn Youngkin. I think he presented right, but Terry McAuliffe essentially did himself in with that comment, and then double, triple, quadrupling down on it for the last 3 weeks of the campaign, which is precisely what he did. You may not have that advantage in every state, including Illinois. There's always local dynamics that don't necessarily translate around the country. So the raw materials may be there to do something similar to what happened in Virginia, in Illinois, but I don't see anybody cobbling those raw materials into a movement the way that there was a movement organized in Virginia against Terry McAuliffe. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening for Pritzker right now. So I'm not being pessimistic about what happened last night and what it portends for the country. I'm being pessimistic, or realistic, I would say, about Illinois, because you don't just wish upon a star to make what happened in Virginia happen in Illinois. You have to do a lot of heavy lifting in a smart and organized fashion, and I don't see very much of that happening here, either at the sort of granular citizen level, and definitely not
What?
at the Republican Party level. The Republican Party is half the time they're echoing the Pritzker spend agenda. The other half the time they're trying to do, one-off fights that are mainly about them and mainly trying to avoid engaging on these issues like school curriculum, avoid engaging on these issues like COVID policy. This is why you have, the fair map fight. Right. This is your interest in keeping your numbers and keeping your particular office. That's real compelling. That's really going to, again, whip the passions of the populace, or recalling elected officials. I mean, that is cotton candy nonsense. So when you see something organized, and I know at the local level, we've talked about it in various school districts, you've had parents stand up, you've had school board members stand up. This is not, completely without example, but have those examples scaled to a movement in this state? We got a year, but have those examples scaled to a movement? I don't see it. That's what I'm saying. John and Alsip, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, hey Dan, hey Amy, thanks for taking my call. I think that the only thing that a Republican candidate needs to do to win an election in Illinois is have Joe Biden come and endorse the Democratic opponent, JB Fat Billy Pritzker. I think that I like that guy that was running for mayor in New York as a Republican.
Curtis Sliwa?
I'd like to get him. And I don't know if they won, but
no.
And lastly, there was a girl who did a rally. She was a Republican, and I forget her name, in the 19th Ward about a week or maybe 2 weeks ago. She was on the Sean Thompson show, and I think she's probably going to be at this thing downtown. But I mean, I know that there's like few and far between. But man, maybe I'm hoping, like Amy. I got my fingers crossed.
All right, thanks for the call, John. I'm just saying that hope wasn't a strategy for Obama, and it's not a strategy for us in Illinois.
No, but just help out. Make phone calls for candidates. Do the work. Why not? Try. I'm going to try. And by the way, in New York City, Adams won 66% to Sliwa's 29%. And Sliwa, who has 27,000 million cats, he's the original cat lady, brought Gizmo. Remember when we had him on, he talked about Gizmo. That was a birthday gift from his wife. That's his 16th cat. And he actually carried Gizmo in his jacket and went to the polling place.
I like
Meow,
Sliwa.
meow.
I mean, obviously, he never had a chance. We knew
Right.
that from the get-go. But I like Sliwa, but I mean, the cat thing is a little disturbing.
You can't get over the cat thing, can you?
I
I mean,
that's a
he
lot,
stunned you
especially
into silence when he
as-
said he had 16 cats.
well, especially because he and his wife like live in one of
And,
those
yeah,
closets in New York.
Yeah. Can you
Bill and-
imagine the cat litter smell? Oh,
Bill in Lincoln Park.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Anyway, okay, first off, I mean, in the realm of reality here, we look at reality. Somebody's going to have $100 million to run against Pugsley. Secondly, you're going to need a woman, mainly a minority, that has fire in her belly. That's just, I'm just talking from reality.
I know
And
Glenn Youngkin and
I know some-
and Jack Ciattarelli aren't minority women.
Oh, no. I mean, the guys that are running are, I mean, they mean well, but they're just not going to, I mean, they don't set the room on fire. I mean, they're no more than the governor right now. This guy, the only reason, oh gosh, okay, in a quick nutshell, I mean, this guy he's not Bill Clinton or John F. Kennedy. He's not Ronald Reagan in the least. I mean, the only reason he's in there is because he's got a strong party backing him up, and he's got billions of dollars. I mean, this guy, if he was on the pub crawl dressed as Humpty Dumpty up on Russian Division Saturday night, he would not attract. I was at a Halloween pub crawl in Russian Division, and we got into a conversation about the governor, and we says, look, if this guy was Humpty Dumpty, he would not attract women whatsoever. I mean, the only reason is he's got millions and millions of dollars. He's just another runner in office, if not worse. But I know some women that are PO'd they live in the suburbs in Lisle as well as in Frankfurt. Yeah, they want to run for school board, and this is a couple of years down the road, maybe, that a number of these women will run and will get in. A few will get in there into school boards. Hopefully, from there they can get into city councils. They can from there run for state assembly, state senate, 5-7 years down the road. That's the only hope. I mean, these guys that are running for governor, just to wrap it up in closing, are not going to. This guy. They don't have the money to throw at this governor, even if they combined everything. There are just too many brainwashed people in the suburbs that have moved in the last 20 years. They've, the Democratic Party, hate to say it, I mean, they've, brainwashed the suburbs.
Yeah,
I mean,
thanks for the call, but I disagree with that generally, even though I get where you're coming from. But one, money. The money will come if there was a movement that produced viability. There are, a lot of backers that can substitute for somebody who doesn't have personal wealth. So the money's an excuse. The Democrat Socialists in Illinois have brainwashed people. Well, the Illinois Republican Party surrendered. It's you can't say one without describing the other. The lack of competition provides no conversation, no alternative arguments. So yes, the Democrat Socialists run the table and then impose their will. There's no question. But you can't say that without also delineating the Republican surrender. And with respect to, these guys, they don't have the money or they don't have the charisma. You don't need to be particularly charismatic. You don't need to be Churchillian on the stump. You need to articulate a message with clarity that has relevance. Glenn Youngkin is not John F. Kennedy or Winston Churchill either. Neither is Jack Ciattarelli. Dave in Wakanda.
Yes, good morning, Dan and Amy. Thank you for taking my call. Absolutely. You need to articulate things of relevance and clarity and truth. And the problem is that the Democrats say they're doing that too. But yet, when it comes down to brass tacks, when they're in office, just like Joe Biden, we thought he was going to be the I didn't, but a lot of people thought he was going to be the mediator. Oh, he'll bring both parties together and be hunky-dory. But he's not. He's the most tyrannical person. It was a perfect storm in Loudoun County that put that McAuliffe to his demise. And the same thing, I think, possibly with Trump. It was a perfect storm with this COVID. A lot of people didn't like that. That was a possibility of his leading of his demise.
Yeah.
You do need a significant something to happen in Illinois to change the party line.
Yeah, you do. You do. You need people to behave in a courageous fashion. You need people to speak the truth. You say, I'm telling the truth, and the next guy says, I'm telling the truth. Yeah, that's all well and good. But the question is, who is saying something that reflects the reality that you're living and who is not? And that's what Terry McAuliffe got caught up in Virginia. And that's what the Democrat Socialists are caught up in altogether. You just heard it in that exchange we played last hour with Nicole Wallace on MSNBC with Obama flack David Plouffe, where they're denying critical race theory as part of the curriculum in all these school districts. And you have, mountains of course lessons that say otherwise and book assignments and so
books
forth.
in the library. I mean, my God.
So this, like, everybody says they're telling the truth. Look, you make a case. And does that case have resonance? Does that sound like it's right? Is it an accurate description of what you're experiencing? And if the other guy is saying, I'm the truth teller, but he's not making a case that sounds anything remotely similar to the life you're experiencing, well, then the choice becomes very easy. But the predicate is you have to have people that are willing to tell the truth about issues where there's disagreement, willing to tell the truth when there are people who have been indoctrinated, who have been brainwashed into believing the left's propaganda. And those are few and far between in leadership ranks in Illinois, including whatever constitutes the Illinois Republican Party. That's a problem, and it needs to be solved. You got a year.
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, speaking of indoctrination, the COP26, I know Biden's back from it, but I mean, if you don't think that this is a world religion, this environmental, in terms of speaking the truth, if you don't think this is a world religion, wait until you hear the meeting that preceded COP26 held at the Vatican. 6:36.
I can't wait. Now let's head into the newsroom, though. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike. I like your winter sweater.
Well, it's cold outside, 29 degrees right now. It's 6:33. Voters in New Jersey are still hoping to find out who their next governor will be today. The race is still too close to call. Democrat Phil Murphy hesitant to declare any type of victory.
We're all sorry that tonight could not yet be the celebration we wanted it to be. But as I said, when every vote is counted, and every vote will be counted, we hope to have a celebration.
Well, all he has is hope right now because Republican Jack Ciattarelli has a narrow lead. In Virginia, it will be led by Republican Glenn Youngkin after he defeated Democrat Terry McAuliffe in that major race from around the country.
And friends, we are